I promised back in June, let's say July, when this first appeared, I would do kind of a breakdown of this, and I've tried a few times. The problems in this are kind of fixed. The Tenno do not wake up in a pool of water surrounded by other Tenno, surrounded by the Grineer, because they're obviously Tenno floating in the water. It is, however, possible that maybe the and I keep going to call them the Corpus, the Grineer here found a bunch of Tenno on Lua and, let's just say, disposed of them. And she was one that survived and has woken up without the ability to access her frames. Which is why the look of surprise, because if you have seen this, this is where 3 frames reside. And this could be, she could be the one who is controlling these frames throughout it, apart from the fact you can only control 1 frame, not 3. Excalibur, Mag, Volt. She cannot control all 3 of these. So it's the origins of this character are questionable. But we can easily move on around that because there are a lot of different things. I've heard because of this flower, ooh, maybe this is a young Lotus. And this is how she started the rebellion and created the Warframes and the Tenno and took them under her wing and started the blah 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 blah. No, that is not at all possible. I could get into why, but the Lotus was looking after the Tenno before, well, they went to sleep, which means that that wouldn't be the young Lotus waking up and having the ability to control all of these frames, because it's the Tenno that control the frames, not Lotus. There is a few spoilers I could get into around that, but then there is, when it goes into the backstories, we have Excalibur here, and, well, that's a Grineer ship, flies around the plains of Eidolon, is actually fairly hard to take out. And you see it get taken out with 1 Paris shot later on, which is just not a thing. Ever. There is also the question of these characters. I mean, the better quality here, the Kubro, Excalibur, the Paris. Oh, they all look. The graphics on this were really good, but it's this. Very clearly, that is Grineer. The armor, the face. It does become more obvious that this is supposed to be Grineer, apart from the fact that they are using Orokin weaponry right there. Grineer. Grineer helmet, Grineer armor. I would say that is possibly the makings of a Grineer turret that they are putting up, but it's not. That still looks Orokin. All of this, the gold on the ship, the white, it looks like an Orokin ship. Now, the Grineer are scavengers, so it is still possible that this is still, in fact, the Grineer. Apart from a few slight things that will pop up very soon, like the prime weapons that they are using, or any of the explosives. This, it's just, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, apart from the Grineer are scavengers. They would have started out, this is why I have said for, a long time, Grineer weapons can in fact be primed, because the Grineer are scavengers. They scavenged Orokin tech. That's why Vor wants the Warframes, so he can scavenge them. Alad V is the same thing, because the Corpus want to integrate Warframe technology, but the Grineer are known scavengers. But the abilities of Excalibur are shown off actually really well. Volts, on the other hand, is where it gets really interesting. Mag and the Archwing, again, none of these are the primed frames. This is supposed to be when they disappeared, just before they disappeared, before you get awoken by if we go back to the start of the game, what is it? You've slept for 1,000 years, and then Vor wakes you up. even though other frames are already awake and come and rescue you, there is a 1,000-year gap, and this will be just before that 1,000-year gap. So primed frames would never happen. Mag, technically, she can't control this. She cannot do this. That is Nyx. That is Nyx absorbability being used by Mag, because Nyx absorbs the damage and deals it back. Mag cannot put a shield up that catches bullets and shoot it back at enemies. She has pull, polarize, the crush one. Yeah, none of that. But I love the reflection there. You see all of the bullets being shot back and dealing all of that damage. Mag needs that ability. Don't care what anybody says, Mag needs that ability. That ability will be really, really useful. But as I mentioned before, Volt is where this starts to get really, really interesting. Not only because this is still technically the Grineer here. They are still using Orokin weapons, they are still wearing Orokin tech, but again, Grineer, scavengers, it is possible that they have stolen the Orokin tech right up until about this point, that you start to realise, well, dead Orokin ships. Oh, hang on. There's the Orokin attacking the Tenno. Now, if we go back, and I'm just trying to find a good spot to kind of pause this where it's not blurry as heck, which is pretty much impossible to do, so let's just leave this running. Okay, the Grineer are working with the Corpus. I said Corpus again. The Grineer are working with the Orokin. So Orokin, Grineer, fighting together against the Tenno. If you have looked at all at the Stalker's lore, the Tenno turned on the Orokin and ended the war. That is when they probably went to sleep. But that explains why the Grineer are fighting with the Orokin, because the Orokin probably hired the Grineer. It is possible. Very slim, but possible, because in the field of battle here, you can see Grineer and Orokin there. But they're not really fighting each other. Actually, no. There's a person, or a group of people, they are helping each other. You have Orokin ships. That is an Orokin ship to the right of the tower, taking off and leaving with the Grineer. The only thing that really gets me about this is they all leave, Earth is saved, the war is over. Well, it's not, because you can see how many ships are leaving. There is still a lot left to do in the old war. And then they leave. The Warframes are left, abandoned. They go to, well, they start to decay and fall apart. This is obviously the reawakening of the Tenno, which is how the game starts. The Tenno reawakens, done by Vor, and then you have the whole transference thing. She is a Tenno, there's transference right there, the weird glowy thing, and she's gone. Into the frames. A frame. A Tenno can only control one frame at a time. This is why you can only have one frame active, because... Oh! That would be transference into all three? No. So let's just say maybe those flowers were a signal that she found more frames, and this is something the Lotus is doing, hence the Lotus flower, to reclaim them. Then it goes on, and then there's the slight twitch, and one awakens. It's Mag. Should have been Excalibur, being the frame that's always around in everything about the game, and that's pretty much it. Trailer, done. There was nothing wrong with the trailer. There's a few things that were left unanswered, like all of those Tenno... I keep saying Tenno, or keep saying Corpus, because the Corpus was not in this. The Orokin are there, the Grineer are there, the Grineer, possibly one of those whole, well, the Grineer were hired by the Orokin. it is a feasible possibility, or this was a battlefield between the two, and this is where the Tenno kind of betrayed them and started fighting against them, in which case that should have happened a lot more before this point. So there's a lot of questions that were left unanswered, and a lot of abilities that, well, Mag just didn't have. And those ships, they do look better in their prime form than they do in the Grineer one. There goes another Roken ship leaving. And there's the one shot from a Paris, and it took out all these ships. If you've ever tried to fire at one of these, no Paris will ever one-shot one of these ships. But anyway, a lot of questions left unanswered. It was a good trailer. It really was. The quality on it was really good, and the story behind it, it's there. It has its own weird story to tell. Who were they bowing to? Why did they leave so many alive if the Warframes are responsible for the extinction of the Orokin? A lot of questions unanswered in this, but everybody has their own weird theories. This was just mine. So we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.